Yay! Just like um my usual question is well, first of all, thank you for coming on the show and sharing your culture and food. And as we were talking about earlier, I have a slightly ulterior motive in that food brings the world together. And this month is 3 years online, or this week is 3 years online and cumulative 10 years cooking together. And so thank you so much for coming and sharing your food and your culture. What made you choose this particular dish?
Well, so today I'm making Akara, rice Akara with bananas, and I'm making a pepper stew to go with it. I love this dish. This is one of the simpler dishes that I enjoy making. If you have overripe bananas at home and you're like, what can I do with it? Oftentimes you're thinking banana bread, you're thinking, banana fritters, perhaps. For Sierra Leoneans, we like to do rice Akara, which means you have to have rice flour. So it is one of those things where you're like, okay, what do I do with my overripe bananas? And what can you prepare with it? The other thing that I really like about this dish, and a lot of folks find it really odd whenever I make it when I'm in the United States, it's sweet, but you pair it with a savory pepper sauce. And folks find it really odd. The first time I prepared it, someone's like, oh, this goes great with ice cream. And in my mind, I'm like, I can't even conceptualize what that even means,
So that was going to be one of my first questions is, can you use another flour besides rice? But I think you answered it. Traditionally, they pair together perfectly.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
And so with the rice flour as well, it doesn't have any, this is the gluten-free rice flour, so it doesn't have a stretch to it. And it doesn't have, so it's kind of like, it's supposed to be a little bit drier. It's not supposed to swell as much or anything like that. So it's if you're gluten-free, it's a perfect dish for you, but that was not the intent originally. It was just because it paired really well with the banana. We actually make another banana dish, which is called, which is like a banana bread, but we call it rice bread. And it also uses overripe bananas in it. So we very traditionally use rice flour as the flour that we prepare these two dishes with. So, but we love it. We enjoy it. It's kind of basic. It's easy. It is like an appetizer that you have at parties, birthday parties, events, activities. And so if you go to any Sierra Leonean party, you're probably going to have plantains and rice Acacara as part of the appetizers there. It is a standard.
Now, you did mention plantains because plantains are different than bananas.
They are, yes. So we do sweet ripe plantains as well. They are they're same family group, but then just a different type of banana dish because it is like a cooking banana, so to speak. But there are different kinds, like there's matoke, which is another kind that you boil and you can mash it up and do it like a fufu. You can use other types of banana type family foods as well to be able to do things in a savory manner. I know some folks in South America tend to use like the unripened bananas and they cook it and mash it and cook it again and fry it again. So it's more savory than it is sweet. But in Sierra Leone, a lot of West African countries, we do like the ripened plantains so that they can be, so that they're accompanying other savory dishes as well.
So I do want to clarify, have you done this with bananas as well as plantains? Because you said plantains.
Well, some people might, but it has a different flavor that I would not recommend.
Yeah, because I mean, bananas themselves are super sweet when they're ripe. Mm-hmm. As actually, I've talked to some people who are, I just forgot, diabetic.
Yes.
And they can eat bananas in the beginning, but the bananas reach a point of ripeness where they can't eat it anymore. It overwhelms their sugar.
Right, because it gets super sweet, so bananas get really sweet, so do plantains get really sweet as well. But it's sweet in a way that is not that still allows you to eat it with main meals as opposed to eating it with desserts, if that makes sense. Hold on one second.
So I should change this recipe to say plantains instead of bananas then.
No. It's supposed to be sweet bananas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is definitely bananas. We
Got it.
only do this
Okay.
with bananas. I prefer that folks do not try to do this recipe with plantains. It's
Well,
just
plantains also,
yeah.
like, you can't eat plantains without really cooking them. And that's why in South American culture, they'll cook the plantain and then, double cook it basically. You
Right.
cook it and then you dip it in if you're going to dip it in something to cook it again, because it's more like, I don't know, starchy like a potato, not mushy like a banana. So, all right,
Exactly.
back to bananas.
Yes, back to bananas. I'm just mentioning that if you go to a party, you definitely want to have ripe plantains fried and also have rice Akara as well. And then you'll have a pepper sauce that you add or you dip or you put on top of the Akara.
Okay. So you have different choices on how, I guess, sweet you want your dipping. And so,
Right.
what do you call it? You said we're going to do the soup first because that takes longer.
It takes a little bit longer, yeah. So we'll definitely do the pepper stew. It is literally just onions, tomato paste, pepper, and oil. And then you add seasonings to taste. So it's going to be a very small, tiny little dish that we'll be making. I actually have my small little frying pan here that I'm going to be using to do it. And we're going to be blending the stew, I guess the stew ingredients. We're going to be blending it in a blender so that it's somewhat fine as we are frying it. Okay, and we'll be using the oil as the blending softener, like, instead of water. So
Now I noticed in your recipe you did say dried shrimp or dried fish. What does this say about me that I have the dried shrimp powder in my freezer, but I didn't have any tomato paste?
Oh boy.
I was like, I am really bougie in my food choices. I don't know.
So the dried shrimp that I have is this, but before we get started with this, we really want to put hot water to soften it. And so I'm going to boil some hot water and I should have some hot water already boiled, but then making sure that you can soften it. We only need about 2 tablespoons, not too much, just to kind of give it a flavor. The reason why we're going to boil it because it's dry and it's got a lot of salt. So we're going to make sure that we put the water in there and then remove the salt from it.
So the one I have is dried and then ground. So it's like a shrimp powder.
Perfect. Yeah.
It's so poignant that I got it double bagged and then I keep it in the freezer because
yes,
right now I've got it out and it's thawed and it's
it's very in your face. Yes. And that's, I love the smell. I love the flavor. I love the taste, and it makes a big difference in the food that you're preparing. But usually if you talk about, some people do not even add it in there. I just like to add it in there just because I think it gives it an added flavor that is delicious. That, that pungent scent and smell and taste is fantastic with it.
Like that umami. Yeah, it's
yes. Okay. Well, that's heating. I'm just going to go ahead and. So
let's see. You said heating. Do I put anything in there to heat?
Say that again.
You said start heating. I put a little water in, right?
Yeah. So I had some hot water. I just I put it on top of that just so that I can soak it. If you have dried shrimp, you do not have to do this step. If you have dried shrimp, you're just going to use the powder.
Yep.
Maybe use 1 tablespoon of powder instead of 2 tablespoons so that it's not overwhelming, but it provides a delicious flavor.
Yeah, that's probably why I have this, because it doesn't take much. It's so I'm gonna do, I think I'm just gonna do a teaspoon because it's really strong.
Yeah. So now, if folks are following, you can go ahead and peel your onion, and we're going to cut up the onion. We're only going to use half an onion. We don't have to use the whole thing unless if you're making double the recipe. And we can go from there. My son is in the background with my husband, and they sound like they're having a really good time. So you maybe
You got a cheerleading team, huh? All right.
So with the onions, are we just chopping them?
We're gonna put them in the blender, or you can chop them really fine.
Okay.
So we're just going to roughly chop. You don't have.
And I actually couldn't get fresh ginger, but they had this little minced ginger in a jar.
Yeah.
And then I was laughing at it at the store because they had a jar that was like 3 times as big that had minced onions. And I could have bought that for this, but I was just like, that's silly. Who would buy minced onions?
You
Apparently.
can use ginger, fresh ginger, ginger paste. You can use ginger powder as well. So you only need a little bit. You don't need a whole lot.
And of course, my onions are only this big. So I have
But
to use 4 of them.
you grew it, so be careful. When you grow them, they're usually pretty strong.
Mhm.
I found that these store-bought onions, they look like onions, but they're not very strong flavored. But, all right. I'm gonna see how good my knife skills are to just mince it.
Well, so we made something the other day called ginger beer.
Oh yeah.
Which is non-alcoholic ginger drink. We should really call it a ginger drink, but I've used all my fresh ginger for that. So I will.
Okay, you need to come on the show. That is my absolute favorite drink. I learned how to make that when I was living in the Caribbean
Oh, heaven.
from a guy from Ghana.
Okay, so
And the only part is he said to properly make it alcoholic,
yeah.
you have to make it while you're drunk and then go bury it in the backyard and forget where it is. Because it needs to sit out underground for 3 months minimum, he said.
Okay, yes.
But that's to make it alcoholic.
That's to make it, and that makes perfect sense.
It's like,
Oh my
but
goodness.
oh man, that is my drink of choice. I absolutely love ginger beer.
Ginger beer is awesome.
It is. Well, I'm glad you enjoy because it is it's another staple.
I made
It's something that we absolutely enjoy.
last winter. I have a 6-gallon
I
brew
remember
kettle.
we did it once for. Yeah.
And I made ginger turmeric mead. Instead of using sugar, I used honey. Oh my gosh.
That sounds delicious.
All right. So I got.
Okay. So roughly chop, if you're using a blender, you can just roughly chop the onion and put it in the blender and add your 1/8 cup of oil to the blender and blend the onion and the oil together. And you can add your ginger to that at that point, so that you can have especially if you're doing fresh ginger, and you just blend it. So I'm going to go ahead and blend this really quickly.
Let's see. Oil, ginger, and onion.
Yeah. I'm going to I added 1/8 cup of oil, and I'm going to add another 1/8 cup because it's a little bit, it's not blending as well as I'd like for it to blend. Get my. Yep.
Oil, onions, or half an onion, and some ginger.
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking I have a bunch of tomatoes, good tomatoes and tomatoes off can, but you don't get that umami taste that you do with the tomato paste when you use fresh onions.
Yes.
I mean, fresh tomato. All right.
Okay.
Knife.
Have we added the tomato paste yet?
No. I was just blabbering.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is just oil, onions, and the ginger.
Yes, just a little.
Alright.
With
And
my,
I'm gonna heat up my pan. And then I will shift it over, so then it can continue cooking. So it's just a slow cook. Once it is done, you'll see that the oil somewhat separates. We always use a lot of oil in Sierra Leonean cooking. That's a big, that seems like to be a big thing. And so it's just going to be a lot, you know, this is not a lot, this is just a little bit just so that you can taste. If you want to use a whole onion, you can also use a whole onion and just kind of like double the mixture a little bit. So I may make a little bit more. Why not? Okay.
okay, that looks like the creamiest milk I've ever had.
And that's perfectly fine. Some people do it a lot less, some people do it more. Ah, you did more in yours. That's good.
Or it might be just a smaller pan, but
And some people make
but also that onion was like, you know, it was a huge onion.
yeah. And some people may choose to do like a may choose to do, I'm just gonna do more so it looks more like yours. May choose to do slices as well with their pepper sauce. Oh, and I forgot about the peppers.
Oh.
You need a pepper in there too. So just
All
slice up the pepper. You don't have to blend it if you don't want to. You can just I'm gonna go ahead and blend it, but
Oh yeah, you blend it, it'll be definitely hotter.
but just add a pepper to it as well. It's going to like be really spicy.
Now, when you with the pepper, do you put the seeds and all in?
I do.
Okay.
But if you don't want the seeds are really hot. So
Right. But also I could not get the good Scotch bonnet pepper. And so this is not going to be as hot. This is a Serrano.
okay, that's not bad.
But I do have some Scotch bonnet hot sauce. I could do that.
So this is gonna cook a little bit, and when it and then you can add like I guess cook it for like maybe 2 minutes or so after it starts frying up. So just make it fry and then have it a couple more minutes of cooking, but make sure that it starts like you can start hearing it fry and it really is frying up there. And then just cook it for a couple more minutes after, and then add the tomato paste and then let it all cook thoroughly.
All right.
Okay.
Smells pretty poignant.
Yeah. The
Right.
onion, the
And then
onion
you
is,
said you could put little slices of onion in it if you wanted texture.
yes, exactly.
Oh, I know why it's poignant. I was like, why is it so poignant? It's that shrimp powder.
Shrimp, yes.
I was just
The
like,
shrimp is gonna be like intense in there. Yes, the shrimp will make things really, really pungent. Whew, but absolutely delicious.
how many people take some of the hot water and clean out their can of paste? I don't know. I was always been like, clean it out really well.
For which one to do? Oh,
Oh,
yes, I do that all the time. Now, the last time I was on the show, somebody mentioned the tube, and I was like, I never thought of that before. And so I now use the tube. So thank you. whoever it was that mentioned it. I can't remember who had
Oh,
mentioned.
where you can buy tomato paste in a tube?
Yeah,
Yeah, I like,
I was
what
surprised.
is it? They have like the pestos in a tube also. And
Yeah,
so because it never gets the oxygen, it never goes bad.
which is so awesome. I was like, oh, I can totally work with this.
But I never cook small amounts, so I don't know.
No, I like the tube. I like the tube because quite often it's like 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, then you got to open a can, and then the rest of it just goes to waste.
It was you that mentioned it. What's your name again? I can't see you on the screen.
It's Fred. It's
Fred,
Fred.
that's right, Fred. Thank you. Yes. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. This is like the best thing ever. So
There you
I
go.
have my tomato paste in a tube now.
We are cross-culturally helping each other.
Yes, we are. It's like mine is still heating up. I'm not sure why it's taking so long. That's why I like to heat up my pans first.
Oh, I'm
I
addicted.
wind up freezing my extra tomatoes in tomato paste into 1 tablespoon containers.
Oh, really?
Yep.
And who said that? That's another really
No.
good doing things.
I
Suzanne,
wonder, could you just get an ice cream tray and spray oil on it and then freeze them and then they'd be exactly proportioned?
Oh,
But I don't know. I've always been, you open a can, I use the whole can. I'm like very rarely use just a small amount of something. But I'm getting better at it.
so should the mixtures of the onions, ginger, oil, and peppers, should that be liquidy or pasty?
more pasty.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Think I'm
so
there.
I'll show you.
And
This is what I have.
so I might have to add another can of tomatoes in it because mine's a little bit liquidy.
Well, it will evaporate. The liquid will evaporate. And if it's oil that you're using, the oil will start to fry, and the oil is fine as well, because when it's
Yeah,
not
you're right.
fry,
It is quickly evaporating.
yeah, if it's not
Or-
water in it, the water will evaporate and it'll leave the oil in there. So I'm gonna move it to my back burner because my back burner will heat up quicker. If you want it to be more red, you can add a little bit more of the tomato paste. I did the recipe calls for half a tablespoon in there. Some people can use a whole tablespoon. I did a little bit of
See,
less than half, and now I'm putting the rest of the half in.
see, I put the whole can in. Just like-
And that
I
works
just like,
too.
I can't like open a can and then just put part of a can away, like. But it seems to be working out really good because my onion was really, really big.
Yeah, so this, just go ahead and just fry that up, and that works well. And so I'm just leaving it to cook. Stir it every so often so that the bottom does not burn. Tomato paste tends to have this habit of burning things on the bottom, so just be on the safe side. But this is kind of what it looks like. It's not very liquidy, you know,
Yeah,
but
mine is much more liquid.
well, the oil, like when it starts to cook down and reduce and the water is going to evaporate, it's going to work really well.
Yeah.
You'll just get the flavors and of the oniony stew and the pepper with it. If
Mine
you,
definitely is thickening. If I don't keep stirring it, it's thickening.
okay, so it's like, just let it evaporate and it will cook and it'll work really well. I'm putting it just to kind of simmer on medium low, kind of medium right now, so a little bit lower than just medium, so that it can just kind of simmer. Like once it started frying, then you just lower it so that it can simmer and continue to cook. Okay, so it's like yours is looking really good. It's bubbling, you know, and then when it starts bubbling like that, then just kind of put it down to a simmer so that it can continue to cook. All right, so I'm going to put away all my things for my for the stew, and you'll probably season it with black pepper, season it with salt, and so that you can have a different kind of, like a little bit of a flavor to it as well. So I'll add like salt to mine so that it has so it's seasoned. And then I'll just put a little bit of black pepper in there as well to season it more.
All right. Yeah, it's interesting. When I first started cooking this, that shrimp was really poignant, but as soon as I put the tomatoes in, it really just, I actually smell tomatoes more than shrimp now.
Mhm. Okay. So that part is done. I can put away my black pepper and my salt and my ginger. Oh, my eyes are watering. The pepper is in my nose right now. So
Uh-oh.
fantastic.
Now, should I taste it before I put black pepper and salt in it, or should I cook it a while first?
You can eat it. You can try it and see if the salt is enough, like what the flavor tastes like.
That is really rich.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I'll say that shrimp flavor really brings out some of that as well.
Yeah, it does. It
Oh,
really deepened the umami taste of the tomato, but
mhm.
then there's also, the tomato is actually a little sweet
Yes.
and like kind of, it's like interesting. Your first taste for me was that deep umami taste of the tomato and the shrimp, but
Mhm.
then aftertaste is the sweet and like fresh summer tomato taste.
Mm.
And then after that, there's hot pepper.
Yes.
Leaves it afterwards. So, all right.
And some people may add thyme to it, but then when you add thyme to it, it begins to taste like our regular stews and not like a pepper stew for this. And so I just want it to taste like a pepper stew and not like what we call a Sierra Leonean stew, you know?
Right.
So I can add thyme to this pepper stew.
Is it too late for me to put little slivers of onions in it? Because I like to use up some of this onion, but
If I would think it is a little bit,
okay.
just because you want to fry it first to,
Yep.
as long as it completely cooks down, to be clear, it will be fine, but I think it's a little too late at this point.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's really yummy. I added a fresh cayenne pepper from my garden.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Yum.
That's really good.
Remember when you're dealing with peppers to keep your hands away from your face, or even wear plastic, rubber gloves sometimes when you're cutting up chilies.
Yes. That is true. And sometimes I would one of the reasons that I would just put the whole one in there, then I'm not slicing things, and which can be difficult to work with for the rest of the day.
one got hidden in the back. I better not lose.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay. Now we are going to work on our rice Acara. So the first thing, you're probably going to need 2 different pots, and you can leave your stew on if you want to continue to simmer. I'm just going to let mine simmer for a bit until the oil, everything's evaporated, everything's cooked down. It's going to come out looking really kind of like a darkish red color, and yeah, and so we're just going to work with it that way. But I really, I just like the way it's simmering and it's cooking right now. Okay, so now for the rice Acara, what you're going to need is, we're going to start by mashing up the bananas. That'll be the first thing. So you'll have your flour on the side. You're going to add a little bit of baking powder to that later, but let's go ahead and mash up our bananas. We're going to use 3 bananas today. If you want to make double the mixture, you can. There's 2 different ways of doing rice Acara, where sometimes it's a thicker batter and sometimes it's a thinner batter, right? And so it's a really interesting, it's like a very interesting mix, depending on how you would prefer it. I like mine to be a little bit thicker in the way how it's done. As I said, like more of a thick, like almost like a thickened American style pancake batter, if that makes sense. Because American style pancake batter tends to be quite thick, and like the fluffy pancakes, but it want it to be a little thicker than even that. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my overripe bananas. Oops, they're falling off the
So the riper, the better.
The riper, the better. Oh, yours looks phenomenal. Oh, I
Oh,
love that.
look at this one. This one's actually got mushed in the bag coming in.
Oh, you see, I was hoping that mine would be a little bit more ripe than this, but it wasn't, but that's okay. The riper it is, the better it is.
All right. Yeah, I mean, when I was actually buying them, the cashier guy said, "You sure you want these?" He's like, "We've got some that are not rotten."
When I was in Carbondale, they used to have the section where it was just like slightly overripe, and I'm like, those are what I want, you know? And I used to love that. I'm like, this is fantastic. This works really well.
Yeah, they actually had some, but they were packaged all in plastic and styrofoam. And I was like, yeah, for 20 cents a pound, I don't want to end up with a big thing of styrofoam.
Yeah.
So I'll just pay
And have them ripen.
50 cents more and not end up with a bunch of styrofoam.
So just mush them. Some people can blend them with their with a mixer or something. But I like to have a bit of texture. So I just mush it with a masher. You know, if you want to, you can add another one.
So I've got a meat masher and I got a potato masher.
I use the potato masher.
All right, that.
And if your stew is still cooking, just kind of mix it up a little bit, stir it.
I happen to have a bowl that's got a flat bottom.
Aha. Oh, wow.
That's like, yep, I like this one. I forget what I got this for, but I was just like, ooh, perfect for mashing stuff.
Yes, it is, for sure.
If you have some left over, you could make that dessert where you add chocolate to it.
Oh,
Oh yeah, we had a past show and it's became Fred's favorite dessert. I should do that.
Just take a little portion and add a little cocoa powder.
Well, Fred, I still have that many bananas.
Yeah, you got plenty.
So after you've done mashed your bananas, take a 1/4 cup of sugar and add it to it and mix it up. So the good thing, or the interesting thing, is it never feels like you have enough sugar. Like it seems to want sugar, you know. So if you feel like a 1/4 cup is not enough sugar, you can add more sugar to it. But I do like a heaping. There you go. Oh. Just mix it up. All right. Then in your powder, your rice flour, you'll need to put some baking powder in there. And some people do not. I mean, I debate whether or not it's actually necessary to put the baking powder. So I don't always add a whole lot of baking powder. It makes it a little bit puffier when you add the baking powder. When you don't, it makes it more of a, it makes it flatter. It doesn't make it as round.
So basically, yeah, like a fritter versus, I don't know.
Yeah, just
In the US, we have a lot of deep fried stuff and we almost always use pancake batter and it ends up being really fluffy around it.
Yeah, so it just has a fluffier look or feel, you know, when you do it that way. You only need about a 1/4 teaspoon of the baking powder. So
It matters how old your baking powder is.
yeah, well, and that too. Oh, I should check mine.
I always seem to like have it really old and never gets to be pretty weak. Let's see, does this say on here anywhere? Yeah, this one doesn't say, so
Okay.
I usually make a habit of writing the date I opened it. But this
Ah,
one I
that makes
forgot
sense.
to.
That's a good idea, actually. So then you know how old it is, you know, or how long it's been around.
Because yeah, I mean, it's once it opens up, the oxygen starts breaking it down, right? But, all right.
Okay.
My rice flour is pretty lumpy. I'm trying to get rid.
Move it out a little bit.
Well, and I didn't have rice flour, so I made some. I just ground up a bunch of rice. So
Okay.
mine's kind of like coarse ground. It's not super, super fine.
That's fine as well.
Yeah.
Now I would say the way how we make rice flour is like we tend to, you first soak it, you soak the
Mhm.
rice, and then you dry the rice.
Mm,
You know,
that
so
would
you soak it and then you dry it and then you grind it and it makes it more powdery.
oh, that would have been really good. I'll do that next time.
Okay,
That's a good tip. I've never made like rice flour from scratch.
so that's
And
that's the way how we.
As I'm becoming more and more gluten sensitive, I try to learn new things. So I like that tip.
Awesome.
It's just like, you don't have flour? Well,
Try to do that. The nutmeg, just need about a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. I love the flavor of nutmeg. It's just and I love the scent that it brings to food. And it
really
just,
strong.
yeah. So about a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg is added to the rice flour and just kind of mix it up in there.
Do you have in Africa any savory nutmeg dishes? I've come across a few of them in the Caribbean, but most seems like nutmeg tends to be sweet dishes in most cultures.
Oh, a lot of our dishes are going to be, let me think. We use ginger a lot. We use cloves. In this dish, we definitely use nutmeg,
Okay,
and then we're going to eat it with something savory.
don't worry.
Yeah, if we're making things like pork or ham, we tend to use cloves. And not
I'm gonna start heating up my oil because I always wait too long and it's never warm enough.
Yeah, so I should have been thinking about that. So yeah, definitely start heating up your oil, and I'm gonna heat up my pan and heat up my oil here.
Baking soda.
I'm gonna use a relatively big pot today, but you do want it to be deep. I'm just using a big pot because it's quicker. So we'll heat that up.
Did we mix? Are we mixing the banana with the flour or no?
Yeah. Yes, we are. Now we're gonna add it together and mix it up together.
What do you think is better, to put the banana in the flour or the flour in the banana?
It's actually better to do it where you put the banana in the flour. It's always good to do wet instead, however, my pot that I'm using is bigger for the banana, so I just added it to it.
Yeah, I was thinking the flour has a rounded bottom. It's easier to mix.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just happen to do it in the right order.
It's always better to make like a well with your dry ingredients and then add your wet to the dry. But today I was just like, oopsie. So this is kind of what it's looking like. It's getting thick. So when you're doing it, I don't know if you can see that. It's getting thicker. And this is where you can choose if you want something a little bit thicker or you want to leave it like this. And it's really up to you to determine how you would like for it to be. Some people like it softer in the middle, some people like it more firm. I like it a little bit softer in the middle than firm. But so that's why I use like overripe. I like to do really sweet bananas as well, like kind of like what Orr's looked like. Orr's was fantastic. It was like very, very ripe. I think that's fantastic.
We just lost Orr for a moment, see if he comes back.
Okay.
I just checked my tomato, or not my tomato, but my pepper
Yes.
stew, and yeah, mine's getting pretty brown. So
Yeah.
I'm taking it off the heat because
Yeah.
my
You don't
heat.
want to burn it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to burn it.
Mhm. Mine is still just cooking away, like just kind of gentle simmering. The other thing is like, I have a electric stove and electric stoves are not ideal for temperature control. So, my gas stoves, I think a lot better in that sense. So I'm just kind of like keeping it like low, to ensure that
You
it
might want to look into an induction burner.
Yeah, I think those are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I will, something to definitely consider. But yeah, electric stoves are, they cook, yes, but they're just not ideal for for temperature control at all, But induction burners are great, and then you get your pots to go with it, and they also cook very well and equally, right? So
Yeah, one of the advantages of the induction is you can go from very high to low almost instantly. You can't do that on an electric stove because it holds heat.
yes,
So
yeah.
that's nice. That's a nice feature. Orr's back.
Oh,
I lost it.
that. So I'm just gonna wait till the oil is heated up. I'm gonna see how, I'm gonna try a little dot to see. Okay. It looks like my oil is doing well. So you're going to do like a scoop. I'm going to take my stew off of now, off the stove. All right. And you can use 2 spoons, right? You can scoop and you can scoop and pour, or you can scoop and just put it in there. If it's thicker, I don't know, can you see that, folks?
Yeah, we can see it perfectly.
Yep.
Okay, so my heat was super high. It feels like, again, this whole issue of you don't want to burn your, flip it. Okay. And you can use a paper towel, of course, so that it can drain the oil. But you can see how quick this is, how to make this. It doesn't take long at all. And you want it to be a golden brown or a little bit darker. So I'm gonna make mine a little bit darker than a golden brown. Oopsie. There we go. I'm gonna do it a little bit darker than a golden brown. So like that coloring. Okay.
It's everything. Side traffic.
One of the things I really enjoy is that this can be like a quick snack. If you're like, oh, I'm hungry, but I'm not really super hungry. If you already have your stew made, your Acara works really well, you know, just as a quick thing. It's a great appetizer. Again, now what's interesting is that in Sierra Leone, we actually have another dish called beans Acara or beans Acara, because we call black-eyed peas beans or beans, right? And so for that dish, we also use a pepper stew with that. And we do so that's what we call one rice Acara and the other one beans Acara. So, or beans Acara. So the beans Acara are made from beans, and then the rice Acara is made from banana, and it's made from banana and rice flour. Okay. So this is first set. This is a bit darker. Sometimes people want it a little bit lighter, if you can see the coloring here. And so I'll try to make sure that it's evenly cooked the next time as we try to figure out this temperature situation as usual. So first set. And now we can cook with the next set. And it puffs up. And sometimes you can take years. Are you back? He's back.
I was getting the computer working again and cooking at the same time. I'm very proud of it.
Multitasking.
Look at how nice and golden these are.
Oh,
you-
beautiful.
Did you say more than gold you wanted?
Yeah, I'm doing mine a little bit darker than golden brown, but golden brown is beautiful. You know what I mean? It's like, actually, it should be cooked in the middle, and it should be kind of, yeah, not as dark as molasses, but like darker than honey.
So ultimately it's crunchy on the outside and soft on the inside.
Exactly. It's like a bit firm on the outside and quite soft on the inside, but it should be cooked on the inside. And so the first one that I did, I had to cook it a little bit longer, obviously, because the heat was high and it would not have cooked thoroughly inside.
Now, when I was gone, did I hear that you said you make this same thing, black-eyed peas?
Yes, I do. But with black-eyed
I grew up
peas,
eating that, and I absolutely love that, but I never had it with this sauce.
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think this would be phenomenal with the sauce.
It makes a really good pairing, right? So yeah, with the black-eyed peas, so that may be something else I'll come back and I'll show how to do. But that one, it requires soaking the beans overnight before working with it, and then removing the skin. It's got to be.
Well, in the US, I guess could you just do the canned stuff?
You can buy the ones that are ready with no skin on. Oh, there you go.
Well, without the skin on it, huh?
Yeah, because you don't when you're cooking the black-eyed peas, it's actually shelled. It has no doesn't have the skin on it at all. Okay.
Well, they came out really nice. Well, I shouldn't. Too hot.
That looks really, it does look very good. So I've got.
I want to put some paper towel on the bottom to soak up the oil. Or
Sorry, I had a mouthful. I was tasting. This pan is flat and it's got a raised center.
Okay.
Well, that helps a little bit, but I'm actually out of paper towels, I think.
Oh,
I don't see any anywhere. Which is funny, over at the commercial kitchen, I just got an order of 48 rolls. So I just brings, but
And you sometimes get these little scraggly pieces that you kind of just munch on.
Whoop,
now we
we
lost
lost
her.
her.
It's I actually didn't lose the internet. I had my computer crash. So
Which one?
this is my office computer, the one I have specifically for the show that, you know, the lightning hit is at the shop. So
She's back. Fredanna's back.
all right.
Did you ever get the results on the Mac?
They're trying to find a part.
I see.
Fredanna, you are muted.
Thank you for letting me know.
You lost the internet just for a second, and in that process, I think it automatically muted you.
I was like, what's
Yours look like very nicely formed. Mine are like big lumps.
Yes. Oh, well, let me see.
I mean, I was using a tablespoon to scoop mine, so mine end up being kind of oblong shape.
Ah, okay. I just plop it in.
Yeah, that's what I
which-
did. I just like scooped it, but because I had this big tablespoon,
Yeah.
if you look at them, they end up being kind of oblong shape. Well, like,
Well, what Fredanna did with her spoon is she tipped it vertical and then it dribbled into the pan and didn't keep the shape of the spoon.
got it. Yeah, I knew there
That
was
was
some
her
kind of trick.
That's the secret, I think.
And sometimes you could use your fingers, like, you know, you could scoop it up with your fingers and plop it in and, you know, and do it that way. It just gets really messy. So that's why I'm using a spoon. But
No, I noticed that when you were putting them in there, I thought, yeah, that's gonna make them round.
because you just
All right, I'll have to go back and look. at the
slide it
video.
in, right?
Yep, I'll have to go look at the video, how you made them nice and perfect shape. Mine are definitely, every one of them, well,
Came out
they're
long.
all different shapes, but mainly they're long, oblong.
Well, I'm about to take these ones out and then I'll show you how I did it in just a second.
Oh, man, sorry, I'm eating them all.
Are you enjoying them then? That
The
sounds,
interesting thing is, I expected them to have a stronger banana flavor, just eating it plain.
yes.
You know, it doesn't have that strong of
Mm-mm.
any flavor. It's
Mm.
just very like, the banana and the nutmeg are very mild tasting. There's not like a super strong sweet.
Yeah. Well, I will say,
And
and
then when you
also,
put the,
that's something like, if you prefer, you can add more nutmeg, you can add more sugar. Like sometimes the sugar amount that people use.
Okay, or take a look. Hold on, Fredanna. So or can
Okay.
watch or watch.
Okay,
I'm
Here we
ready.
go.
Okay, you
All
ready?
right, watch. Tip the spoon.
So I just.
That's the secret.
yeah, because I was turning it sideways when I dumped it.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm like, yeah, I just pour it in.
Sorry.
It's funny how one little move can make all the difference.
That's true. I didn't even think about it. I'm just like, this is how we're gonna pour it in.
Well, this banana thing, it's literally just flour, bananas, a little baking soda, nutmeg, and I mean, you could, anytime you have old bananas, you could make
These
these
are really
little
good.
fritters. The sauce itself is a little more complicated, but all right, I got distracted. I'm eating them.
When I say it's like the simplest dish, like if I'm hungry and I have bananas, and I'm like, you know what, I just need a snack, not even hungry, just like, I just feel like a snack today, you know? It's like,
Well,
I will make this, because I always have rice flour, and we always have bananas in the house, like, but by the time the week is, you know, coming to a close.
See, that's the difference between us and a lot of people. When other people want a snack, they have snacks. They don't make them. Just like, but
It's true.
you're like, I want a satisfying, soul-fulfilling snack.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes and make it.
I'm just gonna make it. That is the truth. It's like,
Yep.
and it's not, like today I'm making a lot because, folks will eat it at home here, but sometimes I just make like literally like one banana and some rice flour, and I'm just like, that's enough, just to make like one little, like, just enough, for like, this is what I need to do for right now. This is what I need to feel satisfied.
Because this is not something you would make and let it sit around at all, right? I mean,
No.
doesn't seem like it would hold up. Even for like an hour, it would start turning a little
Oh,
mushy.
Here,
No,
here are my little guys,
say that again.
and here are my little guys.
Okay,
What I like about them is I ground my flour, and so you can see all the little bits still.
Yes.
And I
oh,
kind of like
yours
that.
is much
I
more
like-
crispy than mine, yeah.
I like the crunchiness
Yes.
of it.
Oh, that's fantastic. It almost looks like a oh, what's that Greek dish?
Like a falafel.
Like a falafel. It does look like
Yes, it does.
now that you've said that, I'm trying to think if there's a flour in here. Hold on, let me take a look.
Falafels are made from chickpeas, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like ground chickpeas, and then they're, basically a bean ball.
Yeah.
But okay, this batch I've made a little more cooked than the last one.
Okay.
See, they're almost just starting to turn black.
And mine aren't round.
Mhm. And so and that's on like depending, like I've been to events and parties where it's like really dark brown, and then I've been to other events where it's like a really light brown and it's really mushy inside,
So I'm gonna have to make another batch so I can practice. Now you actually still use the tablespoon to dump it, right? I mean, that was a big spoon.
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I just use a tablespoon and then I tip it. I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. So thanks, Fred, for noticing that. And then I just put it in there. Because I was thinking about how I do it with my fingers, right? So if I pick it up and then I do that, I drop it this way. And then drop it so it's flat in there. Or it's dipped in there.
All right. This bundle of bananas is not so mushy.
Okay. Now I will say, like, this goes very quickly, but I'll give you an example of something that we would do. For example, if you're going on a trip, like if you're going on a train ride or a long car ride, I actually would take it with me and just kind of package it, and you can eat it. So yes, you can eat it the next day. It just firms up. It does not get more mushy. It firms. It actually becomes more firm.
Oh, it does? I was thinking it would get softer.
No, it
Yeah,
gets
me
more firm. Mhm.
Probably if you have to let it cool before you put it in a plastic bag.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be.
And so like you can put it in the refrigerator. Other people may, something else that I would do, which growing up, I would make a sandwich out of it with the pepper sauce. So it's starch upon starch, yes, but it's really good with like, you put the pepper sauce in your bread, like in your, you can do like a loaf type of, like a baguette looking thing, so like a roll or a long loaf. You cut the middle and you add your pepper sauce in there and then add the Acara in there. So either the beans Acara, if you're making beans Acara, or put the rice Acara in there. Folks are like,
I think
"That's
this is my
awesome."
third one I've eaten. So
It's like, well, I'm gonna try this one, the first ones that I made.
Let's see.
And I like that. I may add more nutmeg next time because I like the flavor of nutmeg, but other than that, that works very well. Add it to the pepper and scoop it up together. And so I'm going to put the pepper in a little bowl. I'll put it in a bowl.
Oh, here it is.
So the closest thing we have to this is a fritter.
The banana fritter.
I put the nutmeg up here.
Is your oil heating up or?
I turned it down, but it's still hot,
Okay.
you know.
You know?
Okay, now I need to get. Flour.
Just let this cook a little bit. And then we're done. So it's very quick. It's not a, if you're making enough for like yourself, if you're doing it for an event or a party or something like that, you know, then you could make obviously like a big pot in a dish. The frying, just trying to get the perfect temperature would work. If, so that it's not like up and down, because sometimes the heat gets too high or it could be too low. And if it's too low, it soaks up the oil and it kind of disintegrates a little bit and it's not as ideal. But when you have it like this, like you have a golden brown, I'm going to take this off and
See.
I've eaten over half of them, I think.
I'm making another batch. I'm using all my bananas just so I can try to make the round ones.
Nice.
oh, perfect. Yes. That works.
But
Also,
Oh.
it seemed like hers was a little more, batter-like versus doughy.
Yes, so that I'm like, it depends on how, so the way, the one that I did had more of a consistency to like pancake batter. That's the only, the only way I can think about it. You know what I mean?
matters how wet the bananas are, I guess. Yeah.
Right. And then also, but then I can go more with more flour. So I did a cup and a half of flour, but in some cases I would have used 2 cups of flour, that would have worked as well. Some people may do 1 cup of flour, but that's too liquid for me. Like I think
That's why I have to make it more liquidy to make it actually.
Yeah, because they're not gonna drip. Yeah, that's too much, too dry.
too dry. Yeah.
So what,
And
do
a
you add
sec-
more milk?
Like, no,
Or-
banana. Just add more mushy, you would
Oh,
have
banana.
add more mashed banana.
This second batch of bananas was a lot less ripe. And I put the same amount of flour in it.
Mhm.
So this time I'm gonna add just like a tablespoon of water.
Okay. Yeah, but you don't add milk to it at all. Just you just put it a little bit liquid. So the water actually may work well, with it just being liquid. But when it's firm, it's also really good, So I have more bananas here. I can make more. Let me see how much rice flour. I could do 1 and I could just show you how that looks.
Like, put a little sample in to make sure before you do it, or if the oil's not hot.
There we go.
No, it's not, okay, it's good.
Well,
good.
that's the nice thing about the
Yeah, it
induction.
goes up instant
I-
temperature.
I loaded it to 40 and then raised it back
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
So,
So you
And mine's a thicker batter.
yeah, this is still, even though I added a tablespoon, it's still a little thick here.
I think it's the more liquid ones that will go into the shape of a ball.
the ball.
Yeah.
The thicker ones probably won't. so
This is
much.
pretty close, but it's still not quite.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna add 1 more tablespoon of water. Because I want to get that ball thing perfect.
So I'll show you like how, like when I'm trying to get like a quick snack in, like how I do it, like really quick and simple. So you just do the, I just did 1 banana here. Right,
So you broke it up.
say that again.
You broke up you're making just a fresh one.
I'm just making a fresh one, but I'm just using 1 banana. Like this is what I
Okay.
would do if I'm like, oh, I just need a snack today, kind of thing. So I get 1 banana, I put it in a bowl, just like that. Mush it, mash it up. You do like
That's interesting how 2 tablespoons of water completely changed the consistency.
makes a huge difference.
So it just like, see, look now, go like
Yeah.
this and it just runs right off.
Perfect.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still think it could be a little wetter even. But
You make funnel cakes.
we're making banana funnel cakes.
Now, my pepper thing got a little too, almost on the edge of being burned.
Oh, no.
So it's very crumbly, but it
That's
still
okay.
tastes good.
Oh, okay.
Mine's the opposite. Mine, I end up with pools of oil, see?
Yeah, and mine is thick.
So
I'm
so
embarrassed to
everything
show.
is thick except the oil that like you
And-
see like
Sometimes what people would do is like you can actually keep the oil, like use the sauce and have the oil like sprinkled over other things later. You know what I mean? Or use
Okay.
it as part of you can eat it with you can have it with rice even, you know, so the oil can be used in lots of different capacities. You can also use it to make a proper stew, like a Sierra Leonean stew, which just adds like more like maybe another onion in there and thyme and black pepper and salt and pepper,
okay.
you know.
I didn't feel like I put that much oil, but
Yeah.
it was just it didn't incorporate. So all right.
Well, I want to
think-
see what she does here with her one banana thing.
With one banana.
Oh yeah.
And tell us what you're putting in as you go.
Okay, so with the, I did the one banana, it's the same, it's gonna be the same thing. But instead, so I'm gonna do one banana, I'm gonna do half a cup of flour in there. And then I'm going to do nutmeg. I put the sugar in there already. I'll put some baking powder in there, but I'm just doing it quickly, so it's not gonna be, you know, it's not all gonna be mixed together. You'll see what I mean in just a minute.
So how much sugar did you put in?
I put in a 2 tablespoons of sugar
And how much of the baking?
powder. I'm gonna put a quarter, less than a quarter, in fact, half of a quarter, so an eighth. This is
So
gonna be more than
I
half.
forget who bought me this, but this right here is measuring. This one's a tad, this one's a dash, this one's a pinch, and this one's a smidgen.
Oh, okay.
And they're just like all like, yeah, I mean, they're different sizes. A tad, a dash, a pinch, and a smidgen.
A smidgen. Well, a smidgen is what we're looking for, I guess.
Yeah, it's like grandma style. How much did you put in? I don't know.
And
A pinch.
pinch of that. So this, I'm just gonna mix it up, you know, just the one banana in there. Put some nutmeg in there. I haven't done that yet. I'm gonna do that now. Woo! Uh-oh, my nutmeg is open. I'm just gonna sprinkle. Let's sprinkle some. So I did like 4 dashes of sprinkles in there.
4 shakes.
Thank you. 4 shakes.
Well, that's actually a lot because that comes from 4 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Yeah. Woo!
And so
That's
that's a lot.
That's a lot. There we
You're
go.
supposed to go, that's basically 4 seconds, 1/1000, I don't know how fast the lamb shakes her tail.
Would you like one?
Would I like one more?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But-
Cool.
Making Michael a sandwich.
Mhm.
All right. So we're going to just keep mixing. And this is, I can make this thicker, which, so you can see what it looks like thicker.
Can't see the bowl. You were out of the.
Sorry.
Like pancake batter? Is it like pancake batter?
Yeah, but I'm gonna make it thicker. I'm gonna make this one
Okay.
thick so you can see what it looks like as well when it's thickened. So I'm gonna add, I did half a cup. And so I'm gonna do 3/4 of a cup. So,
Mhm.
so you can see it's thicker in texture as it's, I'm just gonna keep mixing it first.
Oops. Hit the lock button by mistake. Here
This
we
is
go.
why it's better to put the powder in first. I mean, and then put the liquid on top of it. Because when I put the powder on top. See how thick that is?
Okay, now we're gonna see what your technique is for going into the oil.
Okay. So I may just use my fingers, no, or we'll use two spoons. I could take a spoon and
And scoop it out with another spoon.
with another spoon, exactly.
There you go. Okay, Howard, you gotta watch this.
All right.
This is critical.
Here's my little spoon.
This is the 2-spoon technique. Still vertical.
No vertical. I like the vertical
We
style.
call this the 2-spoon vertical technique.
There we go.
And they're still making a nice shape.
And so another way of doing it, as I mentioned, like if I when we're in Sierra Leone, we actually can use our fingers. So
I'm getting better at it.
you take it, use your hands, use your finger, and then you flop it in. So it's back to being
There you
vertical again, and then
Yeah.
flop it in. And flop it in. So
Looking-
that's another way of doing it if you don't have a spoon, or if you're not using a spoon, and flop it in. There we
'cause you
go.
always got fingers. All right.
It's just messier when you use your fingers.
Well, I mean, you either wash the spoon or you wash your fingers.
That's true. That is true.
All right. Oh, my second batch is frying away. But yeah, look at this. I mean, I've just been having this set here and look, the oil is all separated around the edge. I pulled it into the center. So I don't know. But
Save the oil for the next cooking show.
Save the oil, yes. I mean, the oil it's flavorful too, so you can definitely use it for like other sauces and things like that,
oh,
so.
I'll use it. But I was just wondering if because I mean, I don't know. I feel like I just put like 1/8 of a cup of oil, wasn't it? It wasn't very much oil, but it never incorporated into it.
And it tends to do that as well, like, so
Oh, okay.
I use 1/8 of an oil, I use 1/4 cup of oil, but I use it with a blend, you know, sometimes you can put half of the oil with the blend and the other half just in the pot itself to fry it up. And you can do it either way. And it
All
works.
right.
So this is super fluff, like the ones that I did with my fingers, I'm gonna show you just a minute, are like really fluffy.
And I wonder if it makes much of a difference how long you let the baking soda set, right? Because it needs to be activated by the moisture.
And well, with the like this one, I didn't let it sit at all, but it came out really puffy. I'll show
Yeah.
you in just a minute.
But oh man.
See how round those ones came out?
Oh, look
Oh,
at
wow.
that.
And that's
That's
what I use my hands, right? So it's like you fold it up and oh, look at, you see, looking better. That's good.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you. It looks it's a little better, but yeah. My third one here are more balls, but they're still lumpy.
Mhm.
So anyway, I'm getting a. I think the difference there is just
And see, so this is
skill versus
thicker.
not.
So thicker batter still came out okay. Using my hands with the thicker batter, it came out rounder. So you can see how that works. And
All right.
another round one. A little.
Does anybody have any final questions? Lulu wants to know what they taste like, but
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm really surprised. I expected it to have a lot more strong banana taste,
Mhm.
you know, and it,
The rice
That's where-
flour tempers it.
yeah.
Now mine taste like bananas, but my bananas were super, super ripe. And I had put them in the freezer.
Mm.
Here's my very last one.
Oh, here, let
It
me
actually got
highlight.
round- It got roundish. But all the rest of them are all oblong, unique little bundles of joy.
That's one way of saying it.
Love
Yeah.
that.
And then
I'll
and then I
say-
totally I burned my stuff, but it still tastes good.
Oh no.
That's okay. I'll just have to do
Okay.
it again. It's you
Yes,
know what happened?
definitely.
Yeah.
And
You know what I did is I just left it in a pan a little bit too long, and my stove is kind of like either on or off. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
yeah,
found out that
it's good. I've eaten it. It's good.
I found the tomato, like I was not paying attention for a second and it started sticking. I had to like stir it the whole time.
Mhm.
tomato paste has a propensity to cook quickly and to stick. And that's the problem with tomato paste. So it's like continuously stirring and cooking. And then when you start seeing it turn, it should just be like a little, here's my spoon, just like a little red
Mhm.
piece to it,
Mhm.
you know. And then, but even if it does burn just a little bit, like have a little crisp on the bottom, it's
So
not
what
too
do you think?
Whoa. How many onions did you use?
Huh?
How many onions?
Well, I did 4 times recipe.
Ah, okay. Well, I will say that is plenty for the for your Acaras. And you can share with lots of people.
Oh
Or
yeah, I mean,
freeze it.
And if you don't have enough fritters, you can just put it over some rice.
You can definitely put it over some rice. And you can add like chicken or fish or to it as well.
can you just add water to it to make like a soup? Because it seems like it's like a soup concentrate almost.
You could. So if you're last week I was talking about how when you make a stew, like a Sunday stew, sometimes it can be converted into like a sauce, and then you can make it into like a ground-up soup later. So sometimes that could, can happen. So yes, you can use that as a base to be able to make a like other kinds of soups and sauces. The only thing is it's got oil, and lots of soups and sauces actually have more of a stock base as opposed to an oil base, but you could still use it.
Yep.
Mhm.
So,
Wow.
all right. Any final words?
So much. I'm sorry I'm eating, but I wanted to see what the flavor tasted like. The pepper was definitely hot.
I guess I'm multi-talented. I was cooking and eating, but this is all foods just for me. I mean, if it's for you or your family, you're allowed to do that. But all right. I'm gonna wrap up the recording and just sit around and eat.
Sounds like a plan.
So much. I like this because I mean it's not that complicated, and it utilizes, especially the bananas, it utilizes stuff that, hey, you're like, you could do like Suzanne did. You freeze them and then just take them out later when you're ready to make some.
Yes. Yep.
So.
And
Okay,
and next time
thanks
maybe we'll think
again.
about the other one. You're very welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Fred.
Thanks again. I've got to go. See you guys next time.